Traders, how are you? With Marcello. Today we're going to be doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. So something super interesting outside of the normal concerns that people have and investors. You know, a lot of people are talking about how the recovery in the economy isn't as well. A lot of people are worrying about the inflation. Obviously, the government is still telling us that it's transitory. But one of the things that I thought that was really interesting is that William Shatner, which is a 92-year-old actor, went into space. If you guys don't know who William Shatner is, he's basically, if you're not like a nerd, he was on a lot of movies or programs which is called Star Trek. And basically Star Trek is, you know, they go into space, they encounter other civilizations, you know, where humans should be in the year 18,000, right? So he went into space with Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, which is one of the companies that's sending private citizens into space. And he was doing an interview in, I believe it was NBC, and one of the things that he says is the coming catastrophic event. Check out the video.
We're so happy that you're here.
Back.
And
It had
feels
everything.
Good. Yeah.
And the realization once again, the fragility of this planet, coming catastrophic event, and we all have to clean this act up now.
Well said.
So I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound very good to me. And I don't know if you guys remember the last 2 or 3 years, I started talking more about natural disasters. Maybe you should prepare. Maybe the preppers were right. But I don't think he would say, I think he saw something or Jeff Bezos told him something, but I don't think what catastrophic event is going to happen. I think everything is starting to escalate. If you guys, I post more things on the Spanish Instagram than the English one, but volcanoes are exploding a lot more. Earthquakes are exploding a lot more. Storms, solar storms, which affect our electricity, for example, are happening a lot more. And I think things are going to escalate, especially in December at the end of this year. And it's going to continue to escalate. So the reason why I tell you this is because the zombies are coming. You should prepare yourself, enjoy life a little bit. You're probably not going to be able to enjoy it more than you do now. So take that trip, buy that steak, enjoy life a little bit. Overall, markets for the week were mostly positive, mostly on extremely good earnings news. The earnings growth rate of 27.6 on the other companies on the S&P 500, which is one of the biggest exchanges in the United States, had its third fastest growth rate since 2010, third highest at 27.6. So the earnings for companies went up by 27.6%, which is the third highest since 2010. On Thursday, also, the S&P 500 had its best performance in 7 months, to the moon, after they had a lot of better than expected earnings in economic, especially the banks. I mean, their profits went up by 40, 50, 60%. I'll tell you guys that in just a moment. But overall for the week, the U.S. markets were positive. European stock had its best performance, weekly performance in 7 months, ending last Friday. This again had to do with the earnings. Their markets mostly positive as well. And Latin America and Canada, because it's not Canada, it's Canada. If you guys remember the joke from the last few weeks, they're mostly positive as well, with Canada being positive 2.41%. And then Africa and the Middle East, Egypt taking the crown there, mostly positive though markets. And then in the far east, Philippines, most positive of all, with those markets being extremely positive as well. Bitcoin and also crypto. Bitcoin actually absolutely exploded this week. There was news that the SEC is going to approve a Bitcoin ETF, which if you guys don't know what an ETF is, it's called an exchange traded fund. So most people still aren't investing in Bitcoin, right? It's not like everybody invests in stocks like they do like Bitcoin. So, or backwards. Everybody has stocks or mutual funds, but not everybody has Bitcoin. Now this is going to be able to open up the market to a lot more people, because instead of having to open an account at a specific company like Coinbase or Binance and figuring out one coin and how to invest, basically they could just put their money in an ETF. And it's essentially just a derivative. It's not really derivative. It's just a market that's connected to Bitcoin. So instead of having to go out and buy Bitcoin, you can actually go out and buy the index, which is going to open that up to a lot of people. And that's why Bitcoin exploded this week, about 13.71%. The record high is at 64,788, and we got to just under 61,500 this week. Axie Infinity, well, let me go talk first about Jamie Dimon, the co-CEO of the biggest bank in the United States, which is Chase. He has been flip-flopping back and forth in terms of good news and bad news in terms of Bitcoin. He said that cryptos are going to be regulated by the governments, and he thinks that Bitcoin is worthless. He would say that, right? Because Bitcoin is his competition. He said, quote, no matter what anyone thinks about it, the government is going to regulate it. They are going to regulate it for anti-money laundering purposes, for the Bank Secrecy Act, and also for tax purposes. And then there's one other thing, which is there's a game, an NFT game. If you guys don't know what NFTs are, think of it like digital, you buy digital things. But there's a game called Axie Infinity, which I just found out about last week, or a few weeks I should say, and I decided to go ahead and put some money into it. You guys should look into it, because as of right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and show the little guy printing money. As of today, if I refresh the funds that have been generated so far, 6 days I'm at 2.7%, which puts the first month at about 13.50%, which is amazing due to the fact that the first month is generally a lot lower. You have to build the game up and the creatures and the Pokemons. And so let me know if you guys want me to do a video on that, because each team costs about $1,000. I'm expecting probably anywhere between 20 to 30% on average between the return on the team. And it's a great idea. Well, just let me know if you guys want me to do the video. Other than that, we have the price of coal in China's power plants are surging to a new record high. Speaking of natural disasters, the biggest province that does the mining there in China was inundated. Let me turn off my little printing money guy there. One of the regions that mostly mines, one of the biggest mining regions in China, was inundated by a huge flood, which affected the price of coal. And if I remember correctly, I believe the percentage of electricity generated in China by coal is still at 57%. So that's going to cause a big problem. And if we look a little bit more into the future, right, if things can be produced in China, that's going to further exacerbate the situation or the problem with the availability of products and even the supply chains, because remember, they're shutting down factories because of the electricity problems. So if we have more outages, or outages start to occur, what's going to happen with the inflation? Well, if you can't find the product, right, supply and demand, if you can't find the product, the people are going to be willing to pay more money for the product that exists, more inflation. But don't worry, the government says it's transitory, so I'm sure it's just going to go away pretty quick. Other than that, U.S. crude was up as well. It's had its 8th week of gains. U.S. crude ended at 82.28, while international Brent was at 84.86. This has to do, obviously, because of the rising global demand, in addition to the supply chain problems that I just laid out for you guys. And precious metals, I don't know if you guys remember when the market collapsed about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks, I told you guys that it would be a good time to buy. I don't know if you guys remember. Not that I can tell you guys what to buy and when to buy, because I'm not a trading advisor. This isn't trading advice. It's only for educational purposes only. Cover my butt there with the regulators. But we had a huge recovery in the silver miners and gold and silvers as well. Gold for the week went up 0.59% at 1768, while silver went up about 2.81% to 2340. And this was on the news that inflation is at a 13-year high. So that's why these gold and silver turned around quite a bit. And in financial and banking news, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization Food Price Index, not the US index or the UK index or the Canada index. No. The new world order they're going to shove down our throats in a few years, their United Nations Food Price Index has reached a 10-year high in September. So the food prices are skyrocketing. They're saying that from September 2020 to September 2021, the prices have actually gone up about 32.8%. But don't worry, since the official inflation rate is just 5.2%, I'm sure it's just 5.2%. It's like they think that we can't put those together. Now check this out. Wheat prices up 41%. Palm and vegetable oil up 60%. Sugar up 53.5%. Bacon up 19.3%. Beef up 22.1%. Chicken up 17.1%. Cost of fresh fish and seafood 10.7%. And eggs, not the eggs, 12.6%. So, one thing isn't that going up in price? That like button. Why don't you smash it for me real quick, because it helps a lot with the video. But so the federal government, the central banks are saying that it's only transitory. Then they went on to say, well, it might not be transitory, but it's going to last a little bit longer than expected. And now the official rate that they give us is 5.2%. But I'm sure that you, as well as I know, that money that you're spending at the supermarket isn't going as fast, isn't going as far as it used to go, right? Be careful, because it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. And if you guys live in northern states that uses natural gas to heat homes, expect a 30% increase in the price of natural gas to be able to go ahead and heat your home. So 50% of the U.S. uses natural gas, which is not bueno, because if there's a 10% colder summer than average, your prices are going to go up by 50%. So maybe move to Florida, where we still have a little bit of freedom left. China's factory gate prices. So not only, for example, when you go to the store, things are going up, right? Not only to ship something from China to the US, that's going up. Not only has gas gone up 46%, but the factory gate prices, meaning that the prices that they receive at the factory to make the stuff that we buy, has gone up at the fastest pace in 26 years in September, smashing forecasts and at its highest level since November of 1995. And obviously that has to do a lot with coal prices soaring in addition to commodity costs. Commodities, remember, is all the products that we buy. Everything is in dollars. The value of the dollar goes down because of inflation. Inflation is the cost of things going up. The things aren't getting more expensive. It's that the dollar is getting devalued. The dollar is going to be valued less. So the prices of everything that are in dollars, because the whole world works in dollars, actually goes up. Political news, the Japanese are planning on spending 2 times as much, up to 100 million. I don't have the exact amount here, sorry, but they're expecting on spending 2 times the amount of money on defense, acquiring missiles, stealth fighters, drones, and other weapons to be able to deter China's military as they advance in the disputed East China Sea. In economic news, the UK, their unemployment went down to 4.5%. They added just over 207,000 jobs, which is a good number for them. And the U.S. Commerce Department on Friday stated that U.S. consumers spent at a solid clip in September. Now, here's what they don't tell you, right? The government numbers, just like the inflation at 5.2%. Food has gone up over 30%, but the actual inflation rate is only 5.2%. So what happens? Consumer spending, remember, is the most important part of the economy. In any industrialized nations, which is most countries outside of Africa, outside of some countries in Asia, it's the biggest portion of the economy. In the US, it's almost 70%, 70. So the consumer prices, the prices of things, I just told you guys about, food going up over 30% and bacon and everything, right? Even used cars have exploded in price. Well, the cost of everything has gone up. So even though the consumers might be spending less, they're spending more. So what does the government report? Oh, the consumer spent more money. The economy's doing great. Don't worry about the inflation. It's great for you. I'm sure you love to spend more money for bacon. So just keep that in mind. The economy isn't actually doing well. It's that they're actually spending more because the prices are going up. So I'll just give you an example. Let's say you used to spend $500 a month at the grocery store. It's gone up by 30%, which means it's gone up by $150. So you're probably going to not get that extra can of soda or, those extra bag of chips, or right? You're gonna cut back a little bit to kind of make up for the $150 extra that you got to spend at the store. So how can consumer spending go up? You see? That's how you put 2 and 2 together. That's why you should smash the like button, because I do this for free and I do it to help you. So corporate news, as I told you guys before, smashing earnings. Chase, the biggest bank in the United States, smashed expectations for Q3. Bank of America profit up 58%. Citigroup profit up 48%. Morgan Stanley profit up 36%. Wells Fargo, which still has those restrictions and some regulations on them, their profits went up by 59%. You see why they don't really want to change things, right? Because everything for them is growing great, except for us, where we have to go and pay 30, 50% more for things in the street. But they're making more profits, but that's what matters. Southwest Airlines fell by 4.2% on Monday after they had to cancel 2,000 flights, supposedly according to bad weather. I saw some other news that people actually called in sick because of we're not going to say it because we don't want to get banned. Delta Airlines on Wednesday reported financial results, and there's a good piece of news there because they were able to pull in a profit without the federal aid money. So some bad news, some good news. And then in trade news, In trade news, China's trade surplus with the U.S. rose to a monthly record of $42 billion. Their exports surged about 30% from a year ago, while their imports only increased 17%. And it's always good for a country to export more than it imports because then it doesn't have to rely on other sources to be able to get the things that they need. The U.S. still remains China's biggest trading partner on a single country basis as well. So obviously, even though China's kind of taken over the U.S., they're still kind of tied together in terms of economics. In technology, a 33-year biotechnologist from Chile named Nadak Reales is testing real eating bacteria to be able to go ahead and try and control the pollution in the mining sector in Chile. They have a huge mining sector in the north of the country, and so she's using these organisms that live in extreme environments to be able to try to break all that down to be able to decrease the pollution, which I think is amazing. And then Nicholas Chayan, which is the Pentagon's first chief software officer, resigned in protest after the transformation of the U.S. military isn't going as fast as China. He's saying that within 10 years, China is going to have global dominance on artificial intelligence, synthetic biology, and also genetics due to the fact that the U.S. isn't moving fast enough in those sectors. And in other news in technology as well, Spacex is in talks to provide Starlink internet to airline industry. If you guys don't know, Spacex is another one of Elon Musk's companies. They revolutionized the space industry by using reusable rockets rather than having to build a new rocket every single time you go into space. Think of like an airplane, for example. If you were going to fly to New York and you had to throw away the airplane every time, the cost of a flight to New York would be almost unaffordable. So he's also, with his company SpaceX, blanketing the Earth in lower orbit with satellites to be able to provide internet, especially to lower density areas. So now he says that he wants to talk to the airline industry to be able to provide up to 60 megabyte internet in the air, which is it's pretty incredible. In investment news, world's largest public traded hedge fund in the UK called Man Group, they're also exploding in terms of results as well. They pulled in $5.3 billion in new cash and a record of $139.5 billion in money recorded, or money in management. Now remember, one of the things that Warren Buffett always said was that hedge funds actually don't have better returns in the market. You can put your money into something like an index fund for the S&P 500, and that will outperform the hedge funds, which technically has happened over time. So if you got millions of dollars hanging around, maybe you shouldn't put them in a hedge fund. And in international events, Taiwan's defense minister is saying that the tensions are at their worst in 40 years as China is adding the capability of mounting a full-scale invasion by 2025. This is due to the fact that they launched a land invasion on a beach in an island near Taiwan. And obviously China's like, no, we're just, checking out the beach and getting some sun. While Taiwan is saying, they're going to invade us next. So that situation is not getting better. Remember, I just mentioned to you guys as well that Japan was starting to rearm. Japan wasn't arming itself because it had an agreement with the United States after the World War. So you can see that things are definitely escalating in that part of the world. Other than that, Cuba denied a government opponent permission to be able to stage a peaceful protest, to be able to protest civil liberties in the capital of Cuba, which is Havana. A few other provinces are saying that it was part of the efforts to overthrow the government. If you guys remember, in July, specifically July, there were 2 days where there was huge protests. There were hundreds of people arrested. Someone died as well. And one of the things that's really interesting, well, I'll leave it there. And U.S. lift all border restrictions for fully vaccinated international travelers beginning on November 8th. If you guys want to come to the U.S. and get a little taste of freedom, since we still got some in some places like Florida, that's going to be effective for both land and air travel as well. However, if you're an illegal immigrant, you can go right through the border without even a vaccination or a test. Let's just go through the southern border. But obviously, Cubans are not able to come to the United States. I wonder why that would be. I wonder if it's because they vote the wrong way. And in unusual facts, new analysis from ancient writings suggests that sailors from Italian hometown of Christopher Columbus knew of America 150 years before its renowned discovery. They transcribed and detailed a document from 1345 by a Milanese friar, Galvaneus Flama. And apparently they knew about the U.S. before they explored and found the U.S. And the natural disasters of this week, La Palma, which is those islands, the Canary Islands to the west of Africa, the earthquakes and the spewing of lava is continuing to accelerate and get more intense. It's actually not dying down. If you guys remember, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I told you guys about, there's some people that I follow that talk about how there's 3 different chains of volcano in Latin America. And those are going to start to get some activity. And that's actually started to happen. There was a volcano that went off in Ecuador. There were some earthquakes as well near Mendoza, where there's another line of earthquakes as well. And in the south of Chile, where another volcano chain is located, the government of Chile issued an alert about the possible explosion of the volcano there. Now, other than that, there was an earthquake in Mount Vesuvius. Excuse me, if you guys don't remember, that's the volcano that destroyed Pompeii, where it literally just covered the entire city in ash and everything froze. It's a tourist attraction right now in Italy. That's one of the 5 deadliest volcanoes in the world, and they just had an earthquake under that volcano. So one earthquake doesn't really mean much, but obviously if they start to have more, that could mean that the magma is actually starting to come up, and that would not be a good thing if that thing goes off. So that's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions, put it with hashtag #AskMarcello. And there it is. See it? I love this new little studio. See you next week, guys. Bye.